Time for another update. Today I'm going over all the horror movies I've watched in the last week or so as part of the 31 Days of Horror Challenge. So let's rock this. Hi everyone, how you doing? Welcome back. I'm Fuzz. Okay, so it's Halloween Eve as I'm recording this. Only 2 days left in the month, and this is going to be my last major update video for the 31 Days of Horror Challenge that I've been doing this month. I will be doing a short, like 4 to 5 minute final wrap-up video later on in the week, just so I can go over the last few films I watched and the final numbers that I was able to accomplish for this challenge. But this video is like the last full-blown update video that I'm doing this month. Of course, the goal was to watch as many horror films as I possibly could throughout the month of October and try to beat my total from last year when I did this challenge. So I'm going to briefly go through all the movies I've watched in the last week or so, and then take a quick look at the final numbers and see how many movies I've watched total this month. In last week's update video, I covered all the horror movies I watched up through October 21st. So for this video, I'm going to be covering all the horror movies I've watched from October 22nd through October 29th. I've got like 13 films to touch on today, so without any further ado, let's get right into it. Okay, starting off with October 22nd, I was able to watch 3 films that day. The first of which was The Blob from 1988. I got the new Scream Factory 4K restoration here, which I have to say looks really good. This one was a first-time watch for me. I had never seen it before. It had been on my radar for quite a while. In fact, I had this like in my saved cart on Amazon, the Blu-ray for this, for like a year. Of course, then once I found out the Scream Factory 4K was being released, I immediately pre-ordered it and was really excited to receive this. I absolutely love this film. I thought it was fantastic. This is exactly the kind of horror film that I enjoy. This has got some great practical effects in it. I mean, I'll admit there are a couple spots where maybe the visual effects didn't hold up quite as well as we would like to see. And of course, 4K always reveals any flaws in the production, doesn't it? So, but that's to be expected. This film is very much a product of its time. I wasn't expecting, you know, high-tech 2023 special effects from a 1988 film. So yeah, this is a film I'd been wanting to see for quite some time. It had been on my watch list for a long time, and I had been meaning to buy it for a long time. So I'm glad that I was finally able to get this one under my belt and fill that hole in my horror knowledge. Now, as far as I can tell, the 4K presentation looked absolutely fantastic. Of course, I can't compare this to earlier versions of the film on Blu-ray or whatnot because I'd never seen the film before, but the 4K looked like I was expecting it to look. It looked really good. I was not disappointed at all in the image quality on this release. So if you've never seen The Blob, if you're into these types of horror films, I would highly recommend checking out the new Scream Factory 4K of this one. Next up, also on October 22nd, I watched George Romero's Creepshow from 1982. Classic anthology horror. I've got the Scream Factory Blu-ray here. No, I decided not to upgrade to 4K. You know, I really do like this film. It's a fun film. But for me, I felt like this Blu-ray was more than good enough for my purposes. And this Blu-ray is a 4K restoration. I mean, it's sourced from a 4K restoration. It's output to 1080p, of course, but it's sourced from a 4K restoration. And I think the Blu-ray looks really good. I have heard that the 4K of Creepshow looks just incredible, but honestly, I like the film, but not enough to feel like I need to upgrade it to 4K. I'm good with this. And also because, the packaging on this Blu-ray is actually much better than what we got with the Scream Factory 4K of this title, right? You get a nice hard box here with you get a little book in there. So honestly, I kind of wish that Scream Factory had done the same type of treatment for their 4K release. You know, of course, I don't think it would have mattered. I bought this long before I even knew the 4K was coming out. But I knew when I was buying this that if it did get upgraded to 4K, I probably wasn't going to need to upgrade it. Like I said, I like the film. I enjoy the ride. It was fun to revisit, but it's not the kind of movie that I personally feel like I need in the absolute best possible quality. So Other than that, not too much to really say about Creepshow. Like I said, it's a classic. I think we all know what this one is. I guess I'm not really into anthology horror as much as other people are. I mean, I do like certain anthologies like this one, but overall, I tend to prefer like a full feature-length movie to a short story like what we get in this. However, though, awesome performances from Leslie Nielsen, Hal Holbrook, Adrienne Barbeau, and others. Yeah, this is great stuff. So it was fun revisiting this one. And then continuing on with the whole anthology horror thing, the last title I watched on that day was Body Bags from the great John Carpenter with a little help from Tobe Hooper. This one's so much fun. I personally find this to be hilarious, and that's why I like it. It's got some great stuff in it, but this one's just a whole lot of fun. John Carpenter playing this kind of dead mortician as your host here. We get two short stories directed by Carpenter, and then one by Tobe Hooper, and they're all decent. You got Stacy Keach in here, you got Mark Hamill in here. There's a lot of great cameos in here too. Sam Raimi, Wes Craven show up. David Naughton shows up in this. My personal favorite story from this of the three is Gas Station. Is that what it's called? Gas Station. That one's awesome. I just love that one, and that's the one I enjoy the most of the three stories in here. So if you've never seen John Carpenter's Body Bags, this is a great anthology horror that I think goes under the radar for a lot of people. A lot of people who are maybe getting into Carpenter's films may not necessarily be aware of this one. I think it aired on Showtime originally. So it is made for TV, but it's made for cable TV. So, you still get lots of good stuff in there, right? Anyway, just a fun, enjoyable ride. If you're a big Carpenter fan, but for some reason you've never checked out Body Bags, you definitely want to check it out at some point. Okay, moving on to October 23rd. I only had one movie that day, and that day I was actually looking for a comfort movie. I just wanted something that I could just chill with, that I already was super familiar with, had seen a bunch of times, and just so I could relax, right? What movie was that? That would be Alien, this is probably like at least the second or third time I've seen it this year. This is, as those of you who know, who've been watching the channel for a while, this is an all-time favorite film for me. It's one I pop on all the time. It's very much a comfort film for me. I just like that it has kind of almost like a cerebral vibe to it, especially during that first hour. It's very cerebral. And it's always been really kind of soothing to me. I've always found it pretty soothing. So sometimes when I don't want to have to think too hard about what I'm watching, I'll just pop on a comfort movie like Alien, and especially that first hour, just kind of let it wash over me. I just love it. Just such a great film, of course. How much can we really say about this? I've talked about it a lot on the channel. The 4K is stunning. It's a reference disc. So, yeah, I mean, what else can I say, right? You guys know how I feel about this one. So, yeah, Alien on that day. On October 24th, I was in the mood for another comfort movie, and that was The Thing, John Carpenter. Again, what can we really say about this? I've talked about this one a whole bunch of times on the channel. Another reference quality 4K disc. I just love this film. Now, usually I would wait a little longer to watch this one. Usually I actually watch this more like in the wintertime, maybe around December, January, somewhere in there. That's usually when I like to watch this film, but this year I was in the mood for it. Like I said, I was looking for another comfort film to watch that day, and of course this fit the bill perfectly for me. So yeah, I mean, it's The Thing, right? Another all-time favorite film for me that I popped on that day. Next up, moving on to October 25th, I watched The Innkeepers from 2011. Great Ty West film. I really enjoyed it. I've been on a bit of a Ty West kick lately. I had just watched House of the Devil a couple weeks back, and so I decided to give The Innkeepers a try. I really enjoyed it. Now, I'll admit, it maybe wasn't quite as good as I was hoping for, but I did still have a really good time with it. It's very much a slow burn type horror, but I found it to be really engaging and compelling the whole way through. My only beef with the film that I might have is I was kind of hoping there'd be a little bit more of a payoff at the end than what we got. Now, for some people, maybe the payoff was perfect. It worked out just great. But for me personally, I was kind of hoping we'd see a little bit more with the story, maybe another twist or two, and a little bit more in the payoff department overall. But that doesn't mean I didn't enjoy it, and I certainly thought the ending was fine. It's not anything I disliked. I just was hoping for like a little bit more. But great film. If you're into slow burn horror, you definitely want to check this one out, The Innkeepers. Moving on to October 26th, I only watched one film on that day as well, and that was The Creature from Black Lake from 1976. This was another first-time watch for me. I don't own it, although I have heard that Synapse Films put out a great Blu-ray of this one, so that might be worth looking into if you guys are fans of this film at all. I had heard a number of people talk about this film and recommend it and sing its praises, so I thought I'd give it a shot. I'll have to admit it was a little tamer than I was looking for that day, I think. It certainly has that 70s vibe that you would expect. It's basically about a couple guys who are going around through the Louisiana swamps looking for Bigfoot, right? I would have liked to have seen a little bit more in terms of a little more action with this film, but I did enjoy it. It was a pretty chill ride all the way around. Like I said, it was a fairly tame film. It didn't like really knock my socks off or anything, but it was worth a watch, and so I'd probably just rate it as okay. Certainly I don't know how many more times in my life I would actually watch this film, so I'm not even sure if this is something I'm going to buy on physical media, but I'm glad I at least finally had a chance to watch it. In some ways, it seems like the film almost plays like a drama, right? I mean, it's got some horror elements to it, but it was definitely more of a drama type film than I think I thought I was getting into. But if you're a fan of Bigfoot and you've never seen this one, you might find that it's worth at least taking a look at once. Next up, on October 27th, I watched the Guillermo del Toro film Mimic. This is a great creature flick, really well done. I really enjoyed this one, and I had seen it before. I own it. This is probably only like the second time I'd seen it. I watched it, I think, about a year and a half ago when I got this, and then I decided to revisit it again this time. One thing I will say about this, you want to watch the director's cut. You do not want the theatrical version. The theatrical cut is a Weinstein Miramax hack job. They cut it to shit, right? And Guillermo del Toro has said that this was pretty much the worst experience he ever had working on a movie. I think he said, quote unquote, it was horrible, horrible, horrible experience, unquote. So, you definitely want to check out the director's cut version of this. Del Toro himself said that he was satisfied enough with the director's cut that he felt like this is what they could salvage from all the bullshit that the Weinsteins put him through. Apparently, he didn't get to totally shoot everything he wanted to shoot. He didn't get to completely make the film that he had in mind. But Del Toro has said that this is at least salvageable. This is at least something he can be somewhat proud of. He said this at least gets a lot closer to the vision he had in mind for the film than the theatrical cut ever did. Of course, we hear this kind of story a lot in Hollywood, don't we? Especially as it relates to the Weinsteins, who are scumbags, right? But if you've never seen this one, it's got some great effects, great practical effects in here, and it's just a really fun ride, a great creature flick. So I would definitely recommend checking it out if you've never seen it. Also on October 27th, I watched the 2013 remake of Carrie. Now, I know, some of you are probably saying, what the hell were you thinking, Fuzz? I know. It was my morbid curiosity. I just had to see what they did with it. Honestly, I was primarily curious to see how they handled Carrie going badass at the end of the film, getting revenge on everyone. I was really interested to see how they were going to do that with a more contemporary film. And honestly, it really wasn't that impressive at all. It was really nothing to write home about. I was pretty disappointed in it. I mean, the film's watchable, but I mean, if you're going to watch this, of course, you may as well just go watch the original Carrie instead. It's so much better. They have a few updates for the times, like, kids posting stuff on the internet and whatnot, which adds a new layer of harassment to Carrie's torment, right? I just didn't really feel like it was that good of a film. You know, I watched it because I was really curious just to see what they would do with it. But now I understand why the remake wasn't more successful. The film just isn't that good. And really pretty pointless. I mean, the film follows the original format pretty closely. There really isn't that much that's actually different. So like I said, if you're going to watch Carrie, you may as well just go watch the original then and not even bother with this one, right? So yeah, Carrie 2013 was, yeah, a disappointment. Even though I knew it would be, you know, I was still disappointed anyway. Okay, and then the last film I watched on October 27th was Crawl from 2019, a little more contemporary film here. This one's all about killer alligators on the loose, right, during a like a hurricane. So yeah, it was a fun film. I enjoyed it. A little too much CGI for my comfort, but it still was an enjoyable ride. Lots of good tension and suspense, lots of great alligator action. Yeah, I had a lot of fun with it. I don't know if this is one I would even buy on physical media myself. I don't know if I liked it enough to buy it on physical media, but I am glad that I at least got the chance to see this one. I had heard other people say good things about it, so I figured it was about time to get this one under my belt. So yeah, if you like creature flicks, and especially alligators that are very hungry and on the attack, then I would recommend giving Crawl a try at some point. By the way, if you're enjoying the content on this channel, do me a favor and please consider subscribing to the channel. And if you do, hit that notification bell as well so that you can be alerted whenever I'm posting videos that you might be interested in. And also don't forget to like the video as well. It really helps the channel out more than you may realize. So with the visibility and the algorithm and all that. So thank you so much for your support. I really appreciate it. Okay, and moving on to October 28th, I went back to some movies that I was more familiar with, that I was more comfortable with, one of which was Videodrome. Awesome, awesome Cronenberg film with just a stellar performance from James Woods. I've got the Arrow 4K here, which also looks fantastic. If you're in the market for this one in the US, I hear Criterion has also got a new 4K release. It may be sourced from the same scan as this one, but if you don't want to import or if you can't find this box anymore for a reasonable price, you can get it from Criterion on 4K. But this is just a great film, just a really trippy film, right? It's definitely one that makes you think, lots of underlying social commentary and subtext to chew on. So yeah, if you've never seen Videodrome, I would highly recommend it. This is a fantastic David Cronenberg film. And then I was looking for another comfort movie that day, so I watched another film that I talk about a lot on this channel, Event Horizon. One of my favorite sci-fi horror films, not quite as good as Alien in my book, but you know, it's up there in terms of just personal nostalgia for me. I absolutely love this film. I really do wish that we got the full director's cut, but apparently all that extra footage has been lost and it doesn't look like we're ever really going to get it. So this is what we're left with. This is, of course, the Paramount 4K Steelbook, which, has the cool little cover here that comes off. Actually, I should go up on the top there, shouldn't I? Like that. I always love these clear slip covers on steelbooks. So very cool release. The 4K is decent. It's a decent quality 4K. I think they probably did about the best they could do with this film. There are a lot of problems at the source with this film. Some of the effects just really don't hold up quite as well as we'd like to see. Keep that in mind going into this. Have realistic expectations. The film was very much a product of its time in the late 90s. But I've always really loved this one. Lawrence Fishburne, Sam Neill, you just can't go wrong with that combo. And yeah, just a great film all the way around. This is another one that I tend to pop on maybe once or twice a year. I always enjoy watching this one when I'm looking for a comfort movie. For some strange reason, this one it makes my list of all-time comfort movies. And I don't know why, but the funny thing is, I didn't even like this film when it first came out in the 90s. I kind of blew it off and I tried to watch it and I was like, man, I don't know about this. This isn't for me. But then after watching it replayed on cable television over and over the years, this used to be a staple on cable TV and to some extent maybe still is. Over time, I realized the film I thought I didn't like at the time actually was one I liked quite a bit. But despite some of the effects not holding up very well, it's still, I think this is about as good of a 4K as we could have expected. There are a lot of cool practical set pieces in this that do show up nicely on 4K, so it's not all like late 90s primitive CGI or anything like that. But if I'm being completely honest, this is not a film that I would call a reference quality 4K disc. Yeah, it looks a little better than the Scream Factory Blu-ray that came out prior to this, but not that much better, honestly. The difference is fairly marginal between this and the previous Scream Factory Blu-ray. So, but yeah, great film, Event Horizon. Absolutely love it. Check it out if you've never seen it. And then finally on October 29th, I was able to check something off my list that I've been meaning to watch for quite some time, ever since first becoming a horror fan a few years ago, and that is Stephen King's It from 1990, the Tim Curry version. The funny thing about this film is that I never really thought I'd be that into the premise of the film. I mean, I thought it was a decent film. I enjoyed it, but it is long, and that's one of the reasons that I waited so long to watch it, because it's over 3 hours. This was a TV miniseries back in the 90s. But I've been meaning to get around to watching it. I see that there's that Pennywise documentary was out there, and I really want to see that Pennywise documentary. But I didn't want to go watch the documentary without having seen the film itself, right? So one of the big things I definitely wanted to try and accomplish this month was to finally watch it. And I did. And I got to say, I liked it. One of the things I found interesting about it was that it was directed by Tommy Lee Wallace, who I absolutely love. I mean, Tommy Lee Wallace directed one of my favorite standalone horror films of all time, Halloween 3. And I didn't even know that Tommy Lee Wallace had directed it. So when I saw that he was directing, I was like, okay, that's kind of interesting. That's pretty cool. I do think Tim Curry did a great job with the role. And, I liked the film about as much as I thought I would. I didn't think I would dislike it, but I wasn't convinced that I was going to really like it that much either. I didn't think I was going to be blown away by it. But it was driving me nuts. Pennywise has become this kind of horror icon, and I've never seen any version of it or read the Stephen King book. So I was definitely long overdue to watch this film, and I'm glad that I finally sat down and stuck through the 3-hour plus runtime to get through it. I'm glad I finally got it under my belt because honestly, it was kind of bugging me. I wasn't that excited about watching it, but I enjoyed it while I was watching it. I wasn't that excited about the prospect of going in and seeing this story because I just didn't think I was that interested in the foundational premise, the whole story in general. I ended up enjoying myself. It has a great cast with John Ritter and Tim Reed and Harry Anderson. There's a bunch of other people in there too. I can't remember everybody's name. But yeah, I did have fun with the film, but it didn't blow me away. And honestly, I don't know if this is one I'll ever buy on physical media. I'm not even sure if this is one I'll ever watch again. I mainly wanted to get through it so I could watch that Pennywise documentary about the making of the movie, but I'm not sure if I liked the movie enough to ever watch it again. I might, but I don't know. It's hard to say at this point. Maybe in 10, 15, 20 years, I might feel differently, but right now, like after sitting through that, I'm good for now on all things It. Okay, so that's everything I watched in the last week or so. Let's take a quick look at the numbers and see how I'm doing. Since the last update, I was able to watch 13 films in 8 days. My running total from the last update was 44 films, so if I add another 13 films from this update to that total, it gives me a grand total of 57 films watched in 29 days this month. So I've surpassed my 50 movie total that I was shooting for from last year when I did this challenge. I have beat that number, and so I'm pretty happy about that. Now, I still got a few more films that I'm going to watch today and tomorrow before the end of the month. I think I'll probably be able to get in about 4 more films between today and tomorrow. I plan to watch Halloween 1, 2, and 3 on Halloween, and then I'm also working on Deep Blue Sea. So if I add those films to my total, it'll put me about 61 films, right? Which is pretty damn good. That's damn near double the minimum amount of 31 films in 31 days. Now, of course, the additional metric that I wanted to touch on here was how many of these films that I'm watching are new to me films, right? Like films I've never seen before. So out of the 57 films that I've watched total this month so far, 25 of those films have been new to me, films I've never seen before. So I'm still maintaining about 43% there of all the films I've watched being unfamiliar new films to me. So yeah, the challenge has gone remarkably well, and really I couldn't be any happier with the results. Okay, so that wraps up the week 4 update for the 31 Days of Horror Challenge I've been doing this month. I gotta say, I'm pretty happy with how things are going. Let me know what you think in the comments below. If you're doing this challenge, let me know how you're doing on this challenge, what movies you've been watching, and also let me know what you think of the movies I've been watching. I always love to hear your feedback and your thoughts on that. Thanks so much for watching today. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe, all that good stuff. I really appreciate your support, and I'll see you soon.